today we have three speakers as told by Urvi ji. So
Yes,
first
sir.
speaker will be
Dr.
no
Parag
no first is
Mevlanki.
I know. The first speaker
ये
is Dr. जी कुछ कह रही हैं पूर्वी?
नहीं, किसी ने नाम लिया इसीलिए पूछ रही थी।
अच्छा नहीं नहीं
और
ओके
और ये वन
सो
प्लस से कोई जुड़ा है। आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट्स टू प्लीज राइट योर नेम। थैंक यू।
so first speaker will be Dr. Parag Mevlanki साहब. Second speaker is Mr. Dilip Jain, Chartered Accountant. And third speaker is Dr. Sangita Vipin Shah. So, uh, first of all, we should start our program with the Navokar month, uh, and then we will start. I request Kachara Sahab, please, uh, Mangala Charan, please say the Mangala Charan.
नमोकार महामंत्र नमो हरिहंताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो नमो अध्यायणं नमो वसाहुं ऐसो पंच नमोकारो सव पावपणासनं मंगलानं च सर्वेशं परमं हवै मंगलम परमं हवै मंगलम.
थैंक यू कछारा साहब. हाँ, क्या विपिन दोषी डॉक्टर साहब कुछ कह रहे हैं क्या? डॉक्टर विपिन दोषी? अच्छा अच्छा जय जय सो
I was adjusting my camera. That's
okay okay thank you. So many of us know very well Dr. Parag Mevlanki Saab. He is well-known orthopedic surgeon uh, at Dharwad, and he is very studious person. I can say he has studied a lot of literature, and he is very much deeply interested in doing their reading in this Theosophical Society of India and also other part. Detailed of Dr. Parag Mevlanki Saab, I request Dr. Pratap Sancheti Saab, please introduce him detail, and he will start his talk on the topic, whatever you will tell, please.
Thank you very much, sir. As you have already told, Dr. Parag is one of the senior orthopedic surgeon from the Dharwad district of Maharashtra. He has got a keen interest in the exploring intricacy of Jainism. Today, he will be deliberating on mind, brain, consciousness, and spiritual evolution, a comparative analysis of Theosophy, Jainism, and the neurosciences. We are eager to hear you, sir, and I request Dr. Parag to start his deliberation. Please share the screen. And yeah, correct.
Is it visible?
No, no, it hasn't come, sir.
No, it hasn't come.
I think now it will be coming.
Visible, yes.
Double click, sir. Yes. Now it's visible, sir. Please start, sir.
It is visible, but okay. 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 I think now we'll start. Jai Jinendra and good evening to all. And thank you at the outset for giving me this opportunity to present this paper to the August audience. to the learned scholars. I think it is difficult for me. I'm not used to presenting such things, but this is a vast subject. But anyway, I'll try to finish it in a short period of 20-25 minutes. The topic is mind, brain, consciousness, and spiritual evolution, comparative study of theosophy and modern neuroscience. So the objectives are understand theosophy, it's an overview, compare with neuroscience, explore different theories, consciousness theories scientifically, which are coming up now, and then compare with Jainism. So the basics of theosophy. Theosophy, basically the relationship between mind, brain, and consciousness remains one of the deepest unresolved questions in philosophy, spirituality, and science. Theosophy is a modern esoteric philosophical movement founded in the 19th century, presents a multidimensional model of human consciousness in which mind transcends the physical brain and evolves spiritually through successive stages of development. Among modern spiritual philosophical systems, theosophy occupies a unique position because it attempts to synthesize Eastern spirituality, Western philosophy, mysticism, and evolutionary thought into a unified framework. It was started by one lady called Madame Blavatsky or Helena Petrovna Blavatsky from Ukraine. It was started in 1875. In New York. And she traveled all over the world right from the age of 17. She traveled all over the world and met Himalayan masters, the yogis who were there. And under their guidance, she wrote quite a lot of books and she was guided and she founded the society along with Colonel Olcott. Basics of theosophy. It's the theo is divine and sophy is wisdom. So it is divine wisdom. We call Brahma Vidya in Sanskrit, and it proposes universal brotherhood, karma and reincarnation, evolution of consciousness, and spiritual development, similar to what our Jain darshan and many other darshans, Indian darshans, Sanatan darshans propagate. So that is one. We have this universal brotherhood like our Jain logo, Parasparo Pagaro Jivanam, evolution from one sense to five senses, multidimensional nature of reality, that is Anikanta, and development through Tapa. So this is not similar to our Jain Darshan. So I've taken up this study. So the sevenfold constitution is being part of the central teachings of theosophy. And the seven different dimensions of human being are Atma, Buddhi, Manas, Kama Sharira, Prana Sharira, Linga Sharira, or the etheric double, and Stula Sharira. This we can go into detail, but I'm not going to detail. The upper three, the Atma, Buddhi, Manas are the higher triads. Lower four are the lower quaternary. And this theosophy views the human being as existing simultaneously on multiple planes of existence, ranging from spiritual to physical. We are dealing in science only with the Sthula Sharira or the physical body. The upper seven are not much touched upon. And the mind in theosophy is divided into two major aspects, the higher mind and the lower mind. Higher mind represents abstract reasoning, moral awareness, intuition, wisdom, spiritual aspiration, and universal consciousness. It represents the individuality. Whereas the lower manas is deals with the concrete thinking, logic, memory, ego, and then personal identity and the sensory processing through the brain and such things. Lower mind represents personality. Persona means mask. So we put on the mask in the society, and that is the lower personality, lower mind. Higher mind represents selflessness and individuality, not the personality. And when the lower mind becomes attached to desire and emotion, it forms kama manas, the ordinary personality consciousness experienced in daily life, where selfishness comes to the fore. Now, the function of mind according to theosophy, where the theosophy differentiates sharply between mind and brain. Brain is a physical instrument according to theosophy. It is a receiver and transmitter and an interface for consciousness. And it is a mechanism for expression in the material world. Mind uses brain. It is not the brain, but it uses brain. Brain does not create mind, but on the contrary, mind uses the brain. Mind, they have a concept of thought forms, just like we have karmana, varganas, and mana vargana, bhasha vargana, karman vargana. They have this. There is a book called Thought Forms by C.W. Leadbeater, where in detail he has described about the forms which are formed when we think something. And these are all visualized by the clairvoyants. So it's been written in a book form. It's like a radio receiver or a TV set, where even if the TV is damaged, the broadcasting continues. So even if the brain is damaged, the broadcasting continues, the consciousness continues. Evolution of consciousness is through different stages. Divided into 4 stages: instinctive, intellectual, spiritual, enlightened. I won't go into the details because this is similar to our Jain darshan, where initially instinctive is survival, in the survival mode, and it is a primitive consciousness. Intellectual is the reasoning, thinking ability, ego, and personality. Spiritual and enlightened are on the higher scale, where there is compassion, intuition, and uh, self-realization happens. And mechanism driving this evolution is karma and reincarnation, according to theosophy. So modern neuroscience, as we all know, this has been discussed in detail in the past few lectures. Stalwarts have all described this. It's the brain is the processor, the hardware, mind is the software. So the hardware has different sections, and consciousness is linked to this structure, the brain. And neuroscience has demonstrated strong relations between mental states and mental activity with the different parts of the brain, which I have shown here. I'll share the PPT later. You can just go through this. In short, it is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive function and deals with the executive function. Hippocampus, the memory. Limbic system deals with emotions. Thalamus is the relay. And the brain stem controls the vital functions, the respiration and such things. So this is what we are studying, but this is only the hardware part which we are studying. The hard problem is now the injury when it happens, the brain injury, it alters the personality. Even electrical stimulation evokes memories. Anesthesia abolishes conscious awareness. Neurodegeneration impairs cognition, memories. Even the gut microbiome plays an important part now with the stress rising when the microbiome, gut bacteria or microbiome quantity comes down because of junk food and such things. Because serotonin is one hormone which is 95% secreted in the gut. So deficiency of serotonin leads to depression and suicidal problems. So the hard problem is why, basically the question is why subjective experiences arises. Why the pain is painful. Why it is pain is called painful, or the color appears red. This was the question asked by David Chalmers, who was a philosopher. And science explains only in terms of processing, but it doesn't explain the qualia, the experience. So the unresolved issue creates space for dialogue between neuroscience and philosophical or spiritual systems such as Jain Darshan and Theosophy. Comparison between Theosophy and neuroscience is that consciousness is the fundamental thing, and in theosophy, but in neuroscience it is the emergent property. Brain, it emerges from the brain activity, but in theosophy it is a fundamental reality. Relationship is brain is a instrument in theosophy, but it generates the brain generates mind in neuroscience. The consciousness survives death in theosophy. In neuroscience, there is no evidence. In evolution, the spiritual evolution happens in theosophy, but biological evolution happens, it's explained in neuroscience. Methods are introspection and metaphysics in theosophy, whereas In neuroscience, it is empirical experimentation. Multiple planes of existence is there in theosophy, but no evidence in neuroscience. There is one field where both are working together, that is meditation and consciousness. It is central for development in theosophy and increasingly studied in science. There are different methodologies. So these are I'll come to that later. Now there are few scientific theories, about 5 to 6 scientific theories, which I'll just give an overview. Which are quite interesting. And these are the theories which we can maybe take forward with our Jain Darshan together. So the first one is the IIT, or the integrated information theory. The brain collects the information and integrates. So higher the integration, higher is the consciousness. But this does not include reincarnation or subtle bodies. So that is in short, to give in a nutshell. Second is panpsychism. Panpsychism proposes that consciousness is a basic property of reality present in primitive form throughout the universe. And as theosophy says, it is consciousness permeates in existence. So that is shared with both these theories. But it lacks concepts like karma, occult planes, and spiritual hierarchies. Third is the OR theory. OR theory is the orchestrated objective reduction theory proposed by Nobel laureate Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. It suggests that consciousness may involve quantum processes inside neuronal microtubules. This is quite interesting theory, but opponents say the quantum processes cannot be sustained in a warm temperature of the body and the molecular noise that happens in the brain. So, although controversial, OR represents one of the most spiritually resonant scientific theories of the consciousness. Fourth is predictive processing. Predictive processing is something like similar to the AI ML, which we have, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and brain continuously constructs reality through prediction and error correction. So it keeps on getting, there is input, keeps on collecting the inputs from the senses and processes it and predicts the future. So this continuously goes on, but this is entirely materialistic. Doesn't include the higher levels of consciousness. The fifth is neurophenomenology, developed by Francisco Varela. This is the study of first-person experience, or the subjective experience and objective experience. Both are studied. The third-person objective, first-person subjective, both are studied. Meditation and contemplative practices are studied. Neuroscience is studied, and the phenomena is analyzed through EEG and fMRI tools. So this is there. So this is also partly supporting theosophy. And the last one which I wish to propose is these are all the different research is going on. The five which I share in the group. You can just go through. It's a nice picture. And the sixth one is the theory which which is proposed by Rupert Sheldrake. He is a biologist who stayed in India for some years, and now he studied a lot of Oriental Eastern literature, our wisdom tradition, and his theory of morphic resistance. It challenges strict materialistic interpretations of consciousness in biology. So Sheldrake proposed that biological systems inherit not only genetic information but also collective memory from previous similar systems, or previous births, or previous past lives, or past years of our present life, through what he terms morphic fields. It's a field, he says, and we also call it morphogenetic fields, or genetic and morphic, similar to our Tejas, Karma, and Sharir, or the body in of Tattvartha Sutra, responsible for rebirth. And this resembles the theosophical notions of collective consciousness, subtle planes of organization, karmic impressions, and non-local transmission of mental influence. So it represents an attempt to explain memory development and behavioral organization using non-local informational feeds rather than purely mechanistic processes. Then we have this picture of the morphic resonance where in nature it all happens with dolphins navigating and communicating as a group and trees communicating through resonance and knowledge from the seniors. The 100th monkey which Bandari sir was mentioning, I think this gets can be explained through this morphic resonance. And they have colonies, ants and all colonies who are communicating, and they have their own intelligence. And these collective animals which fly or move together, the deers and in the jungles, they have similar pattern. And this is the next, it's the extended mind hypothesis by Sheldrake. So he proposed that memory may function more like resonance with external fields rather than static storage inside the hard neural tissue. So there is non-local consciousness according to Sheldrake. So he studied the sense of being stared at. If somebody is staring continuously, we get intuitionally we can pick up the staring. Even the animal intuitions are there. We see in our day-to-day lives, our pets are very much in sync with the masters, with the owners. Then there is telepathy research going on, and then anticipation, the premonition which happens, which even I have something to share, but now there is shortage of time. Personal experiences there. And then we have now comes the meditation. Now Sheldrake also has been criticized, but so he strongly resonates with theosophical concepts. So we can carry forward this Sheldrake's theory. There is now one field which is studied in detail is meditation and neuroplasticity, which I explained. Uh, it is a convergent field where science and spirituality meet. Meditation can produce measurable changes in attention regulation. This is proved scientifically now. In Niemann's, I was doing a course on integrative medicine where we saw those research papers. It's been done in Bangalore, Niemann's. So, as a part of yoga, and meditation can produce measurable changes in attention regulation, emotional processing, cortical thickness seen on fMRI, stress response, and neural connectivity. There is one person which I would like to mention. He's a Matthew Ricard. He's a French-born Buddhist Tibetan monk. He's also a molecular biologist. He participated in neuroscientific studies. He can produce, which they have seen is he can produce gamma waves on EEG at will. So the gamma waves are basically associated with the deep sense of well-being, learning, and attention. And this transformation happened through decades of what he says is it happened through decades of practicing altruism, filtering out negativity, and sustaining deep sense of compassion. So he is one. So I think if we study this in our monks, in our munis, we may find such findings which we were not studied. I think this is one area where just can take this research forward. So this phenomenon of changes in the brain that happens is called a neuroplasticity. These are some slides which show the changes in the brain because of meditation. This is a scientific study. Then these are the changes that happen, and the thickening of the cortex, the insula and the frontal cortex. The cortex is more in case of meditators, and their brain degeneration is less. Even if they are aged, their brains work very well. So now, the science criticism of theosophy is science requires measurement, replication, predictive capability, and experimental validation, which theosophy may not be able to provide now. Though many theosophical claims remain outside accepted scientific methodology, some scientists who followed theosophy include William Crookes, who discovered thallium, Edison, Tesla, Russell Wallace, Einstein, and Schrodinger. So these are big names. So some similarities between Jainism and theosophy are consciousness is considered primary and distinct from the physical body. Karma and reincarnation are accepted by both darshans. Then ethical living, self-control, discipline, meditation, compassion, and non-violence is part of tapa in Jainism. And human existence is part of long evolutionary journey towards liberation. Key differences are Jainism is an ancient, highly structured religious philosophical tradition rooted in Indian metaphysics and ascetic practice. So Muni and such things are not there in theosophy. And theosophy is basically a modern framework integrating multiple religions. It is a study of different religions, philosophy, and science, and incorporates concepts like universal hierarchy. They have the masters and adepts in the Himalayas, which are still there, and they guide the theosophical movement. And in conclusion, before conclusion, I would like to share one mystic saint of Karnataka, an Indian saint in the 19th century. So it is Manase Manasina Manasa ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸುವುದು ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಮನ ತಿಳಿಯುವ ಮನ ಬ್ಯಾರೆಲ್ಲೋ ಮನಸ್ಸೆ. This is mind is trying to unwind the mind of the mind, but the mind that knows the mind of the mind is beyond mind. So this is a quote by that mystic saint. So on conclusion, it is that dialogue between spirituality and science that enriches consciousness studies, and brain is the instrument, and modern neuroscience views consciousness as emergent property of the neural activity. It is the opposite in case of theosophy, and it is the integration of the research, as our previous speakers have said. It is integration of the research on the multidisciplinary level that will take us forward. I think there is no concept of Almighty God and Creator in theosophy, while upholding the cycles of time and Kal Chakra also. So this I have tried to give in short the overview of the topic. I think I thank all of you again for giving me a patient listening. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Parag. Excellent deliberations. A thought which can correlate modern neurosciences and Jainism and other philosophies. You have given a very good insight of all these points. Since there is no comment in the chat box, I will invite open house questions, because you have finished in the time, so we can take few questions before we go for the next lecture. Anyone, please raise Dr. Chandrakant, please. Mr. Chandrakant.
Yeah. Jai Chandra all. Thank you very much, Dr. Parag, for a wonderful deliberation. And I had one or two questions on morphic resonance. One thing is that, sir, how can we connect morphic resonance with Jain concept of Runanubandh?
Yes, because the memory, Runanubandh is nothing but the relationships which are stored in the form of karma and vargana in the karma and sharir. So this goes in sync with the morphic resonance. I feel that is the memory extension of the memory that is part of the karma and sharir, and it is part of the resonating part of the body. I think that explains well. Yes.
Yeah, and one more thing, sir, is that this morphic field, they are of what nature? They are electromagnetic or what kind of What kind of
Yes,
field it
no,
is?
I think it is a mixture of both, because the what I feel, he has not mentioned about that the exact content of the quality of that field or what it is made of. But I feel the soul, which is non-material, and Karman Tejas Vargana is the electromagnetic field or the morphic field. It is more of electromagnetic and morphic is a field, but soul is not part of the matter, so it cannot be measured. Morphic field, maybe we may be able to measure it later on, so that is part of
Okay.
the matter. Yes.
No, because the vibrations and field
Ah,
means how are they connected? Like this is vibration is there because of vibration. There is a resonance. Now,
yes.
resonance of the field, it means that because of vibration, which is there in every living being, it is
Yes.
getting connected through a magnetic field to resonate,
Yes.
or resonance is something like that, sir.
Yes. It is like the soul has a infinite power, which is able to elicit vibration in matter.
Okay.
So the soul has infinite power. So the matter also vibrates, it has its energy of its own. But soul, with its infinite power, can influence the matter, the Pudgala, the Ajiva. Jiva can influence the. So morphic resonance is induced by the soul energy, soul power. So that is the infinite power in the soul, in the Atma, in the self, which can induce morphic resonance in the matter, and it has immense power to take that resonance forward to evolve. So basically it is upyoga lakshanam, so evolution of the jiva that happens. So from one sense to five senses, so this memory continues from one sense to five sense, and it continues till the moksha. So it
Quite
is
correct.
the.
The name itself, the morphic resonance, it
Yes.
shows that there is some wave function is there.
Yes.
Hmm.
So the wave functions basically are there. I just
Yes, sir.
wanted to know, is it limited to the human beings only, or it
No,
is?
sir. It is across
Sir, one more
all.
thing, like this morphic.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any comments in between? So is it limited to the humans or the
It is
animals?
limited to all life. That is the slide which I had covered, the pictures, the dolphins and ants and the bacteria, everything is connected through this morphic resonance.
What about the vegetables and the
All life, sir, all life.
all
Even the
life?
even the ekendra, single sensed jivas which are there, earth, the minerals, the vayu kai, vanaspati kai, the agni
Sir,
kai,
one
all
more
this is all connected.
question.
Uh, So any other question or any comments on the Dr. Parag's talk? Sir, you have given a wonderful exposition of the theosophical aspect, which matches
Thank you.
both Jainism and the neurosciences. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. I request now Sri Dilip Jain, CA from Mumbai, who will be speaking us on the lingua cosmica, another important aspect which has not been touched so far. So I request Dr. Sri Dilip Jain to share his screen and give the talk.
Okay. Namaskar, everyone.
Just one request, Dilip ji, limit as much as to the mind and the body, and the brain.
Yes, sir.
Of course, consciousness has to be there, but limited to the.
And how much time do I have? 20, 25 minutes?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, hello, everybody, and good evening. This thought was started by Dr. Bandari a few months back when he discussed about, being able to communicate with aliens or extraterrestrial life. And then some of us started working on it and compiled a lot of information from different sources. So I am not a technical person or a scientist or a doctor. So I may not know some of the terms because I have borrowed it from different sources and compiled it. At the same time, I understand a little bit of philosophy, theosophy, Jainism, ecology, and using those metrics, we have put together this project. And this project, I personally believe that it has great potential to solve many problems, right from cosmic language to consciousness to ecology trap and so on. So I'll share about it. Because the presentation is long, I will only focus on key features of mind and brain and then share the presentations for those who want to go through it. Uh, and sir, this has a bit of consciousness because that is what we have tried to address along with brain and mind. So I will try to see I cover most of the things that you mentioned. So, anyways, yeah, coming to the main thing, there have been many attempts in the past to search alien life. So, SETI has been doing it for 65 years. Then there is this recent data of extraterrestrial life, which is released by USA, and those kind of things. And most of these things have are saying one thing. That's all the experiment of SETI were in the 5% of the universe, which is called the luminous universe or the bryonic matter. But the 95% of the universe, which is the dark sector or dark energy, there has been very little attempt to see if that is also a field through which mind and consciousness works. And our hypothesis in the whole thing is that that is the field that we need to evaluate more. So there are a lot of things in this presentation which are hypothetical, but we need to investigate more. And there are some scientific evidences in bits and pieces which strengthens the theory that we are talking about. Uh, so in science as well as in Jainism and Vedic philosophy, we call it Bhuta Akash, Mano Akash, Shida Akash, which matches with 8T. Bhuta Akash is 8T, जो डॉक्टर भंडारी ने पार्टिकल फिजिक्स पे पैरेलल ड्रॉ किया था. And Mano Akash is in some way 4T and Chida Akash is in some way 2T or even beyond. And in science, we will call this luminous matter, the Bhuta Akash or 8T, which is 5%. Mano Akash of 4T is equivalent to dark matter, and Chetna or Shida Akash is or 2T and beyond is equal to or somewhere parallel to the dark energy thing. Now, this Bhuta Akash is all where electromagnetic waves or forces work, which is what the Indriyas or the brain can sense and work on, and that is where all the experiments have happened so far. But the other two, Mano Akash, which is where Mano Vargana and Bhasha Vargana, which is a non-electromechanical magnetic field, and the Chetna, which is not emptiness but a form of matter energy, which is also the area of Para, or in Para. I'll just come to Para Pashanti in the next slide. So we have tried to draw these three parallels and then see uh, where does this whole brain, mind, and Atma converge. So I've borrowed this from, I think, Dr. Parag's inputs. That philosophy is more top down. It starts from soul, mind, brain, convergence, sense, and body, and science goes from bottom to up. In some way, brain deals with separation because it discriminates organ by design and stuff like that. Mind is a bridge, and Atma is the unity. So bridge is where we are trying to work on, which connects both these extremes. I can, yeah, okay. If we draw parallel of this to the different kinds of gyan in Jainism, then Mati gyan is which instruments can measure the current instruments. Shrud gyan is not fully instrumentable or measurable, but there are experiences and stuff like that. And then there are Avdi gyan where there are instances of things which have happened, but there are no concrete ways to measure it. The instances are, for example, the Stargate, where Ingo Swann predicted the geometry and shape and chemical of Jupiter 8 years before Voyager 1 landed, and he predicted based on something similar to Avigyan through meditation, tap, and then getting into some state where he could see the Jupiter. So a very similarity, I won't say exactly. And then there are other things, Manaparagran and Kevalgyan, which are like beyond the current instruments or science domain of science, but more experiential. Coming back to Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari, these are the four levels of sound as per Vedic philosophy. And most of the communication that we currently do are Vaikhari, where the mental things are transferred into language and communicated. But before it gets communicated, there is Madhyama, where there is a neural mechanism through which the thoughts take shape. And before Madhyama, there is Pashyanti, where there is something where the mind gives those signals to brain. And there was a Libet experiment which said that before a thought really comes to the brain, some 300 seconds before that, there is some sense which it gets from maybe cosmos or something like that. And Para is nothing but the cosmic language. So these are the four levels of sound. And if we draw parallel of this to Samosaran of Bhagwan Mahavir, then when he did Samosaran, there was no encoding or decoding. It was Swayambhav, like self-arising, no vocal cord. So it was a communication to Para Pashyanti, where he transmitted the knowledge or information, and he did that after 66 days of silence. So a lot of tap and jap went before he was able to do this. And the mechanism that he used was not getting diluted with time and space. So it was non-attenuating, and there was a coupling threshold where the communicator and the person who was receiving it were coupling to a common field. But communicator has to be of a certain maturity, and receiver also has to be of a certain maturity. So that is how different species interpreted Samosaran as per their uh, uh, elevation or maturity, and it wasn't the same thing. So this whole lingua cosmica, Bandari sir actually borrowed from this Samosaran and to try whether we can find some scientific method of getting this thing. And in this there are few things. For example, Man Vachan Kaya, where we emphasize a lot on this of silencing Man Vachan Kaya, and for silencing Kaya, there is an emphasis on Tap. For silencing Vachan, there is emphasis on Jap, and for emphasis silencing Man, there is mechanism of Dhyana. So basically, all these three mechanisms are a mechanism of Tap, Jap, and Dhyan is to silence the Kaya, the Vachan, and the Man. And the whole idea probably is that once you silence this, the receiver, the human body, is more prepared to receive the cosmic signal. So there are two, as I mentioned, there are bidirectional readiness. The receiver has to be ready. So as his chetna improves or karma reduces through tab, jab, jan, the receiver becomes much more ready to receive the signal. And the second is the field readiness. So the field has to be of a kind where the signal is much easier to receive, and therefore most of our tirthankars, were in the forest, or we go to temples or pyramids, because those areas are rich in BEV field, because they are designed with certain geological feature. The job that you do in those acoustic environment has a different vibration, and those are sacred side which enables the receiver to be more. And also, if you see in forest, there is always this bees and crickets and wind, which are nothing but they matches Schumann vibration, where 4 to 8 hertz theta is the noise level, which is supposed to be the best noise level for jap. So there are some of these similarities. Again, these are similarities. How can we scientifically validate these is something that we need to work on. And uh, so the one of the point that we are trying to make here is that normal communication that we are doing is the packet communication, where there is encoding, there is transfer of message, and there is decoding. But in this whole game of mind and consciousness, probably it is not packet communication, but more like a field communication, where once a person is entangled to the field, he can get to know anything in the instance of time, and there is no functional communication. Again, some of these things that I spoke about have been independently researched and established through different scientific methodologies, but there has been no integrated time, which is what we're trying to do. So Kepler has done this 0 point field जो अपने पराग सर ने बताया, एंड देन देयर इज दिस होल quantum biology about 37 degree where quantum coherence occurs, and then Stargate Ingos one I talked about, Libet experiment talked about, all the UAP files that were released recently. It is found that most of the UAPs happened at places which were least with electromagnetic noise, and those were received by people who were more in the forest and tribal areas. Again, that may be coincidence, but I don't know, whatever it is. And then there is this whole gut vagal axis where the intuition, so like Libet said that before the thought comes, there is a signal from somewhere. There is another, some research which says that the gut is where the signal generated because it has more neurons. And such stuff are there in different things. There is more information on the Ingos one experiment. I won't go into that. Uh, so basically what we are trying to say is that at the field of mind and consciousness, the mode is the message. It's not that mode and message are different, and that has been proven in different ways. So there is the evolution of communication also over things. So initially so like theosophy may one sense to five sense, and then higher sense beings. So as the sense of beings increases, the mode of communication also changes from chemical to physical to sensory to symbolic, linguistic, like we are, and then maybe to conscious ways of communication. I also mentioned that why, if we are able to establish that consciousness or understanding the cosmos is also a function of maturity of the receiver, it has a solution to entropy trap. Currently, the way the world is growing or evolving, more we mine, more tools we use, more we are able to discover and evolve. But we are into an entropy trap where to go to Mars, we will have to mine half the Earth and go to Mars. But does it really help? But if we are able to understand the world and the cosmos and communicate through reducing our karma and improving our chetna, and therefore connecting to the cosmic field, then it probably has some solution to the environmental ecological challenges that we are currently facing. uh, and also, as Parag sir mentioned, that elements also act as the communication field. Like Prithvi, Jal, water is the communication field for many waterborne animals. Air is the communication field for birds and all stuff. And also, we see that why Ranakpo, Shatrunjay, Kailash, or even Egypt pyramids are best suited for people to get these experiences because of their geographic construction, because of the acoustic and the preparation of people who go there. So this whole project of Lingua Cosmica, we are trying to see if we can develop different steps where while the whole project may be very ambitious, we establish one step at a time to show that, okay, this thing exists, and then cumulatively work over it. So it's like, establishing the C field and gut vagal coupling. And so there is this whole list of things that we can do to establish individual points which then cumulatively work to maybe communicate with aliens at some stage. I can briefly get into this thing. So phase one is about developing a BV receiver or Bhasha Vargana receiver. Then phase two can be, so it's more about Vaikri, trying to work on the whole Vaikri thing, and then see if we can also sense the Madhyama through some instruments, which will need some experiment with SMA and gut studies. And then phase three will be about BCI decoder, which is Pashyanti, and then maybe Para at some stage. But again, these are like very ambitious things. But irrespective of cumulatively whether we are able to establish things, each component has a merit to establish certain things in terms of scientific validity. Um, and then Parag sir, Pratap ji, Narendra sir, and me, we have been working on this with inputs from different people. And currently, we have applied to for few research papers and also applying for some grants, if that can help us to take this project forward. So there has been some attempt to, get some money also to make this moving, because if we have to work on this, a lot of things needs to be established. So basically, if we are able to work on this, we address the Fermi paradox, which is where is everybody else, and we establish a model of Ingos one experiment through Avdigyan model through some mechanism or methodology, and hopefully communicate with aliens. Uh, I mentioned about this whole tab jab dhyan, so I don't want to repeat it. Yeah, and also interestingly, like people who experience this connection with consciousness, or who has manas which can communicate with beings, most of them are in high Himalayas or mountain areas or forest areas, and not in cities. So one parallel is because city is full with electromagnetic noise, both of the person and the area. There is no jab tab jab dhyan, so there is no ability to receive those signals. But as one goes higher in the practice or forest, also currently I am experimenting if this has a significance in real life. So I'm working with Sonam Wangchuk for last 25 years, who is the scientist who is currently on a fast, 17th day fast. And while he is doing a 17th day fast, I every day ask him what is the breath count, whether he is able to have better jab, better dhyan, and whether he feels a different connection with cosmic and those kind of things. So trying to see if there is some experience which he can generate and document. So we'll have something on that also soon. So basically, we're trying to say is that the universe has always been speaking, just that we have not learned to listen because we are limited in certain domain. So that was my talk, and yeah. So that's it. Bandai sir, अगर मैंने कुछ miss किया significantly, you want to add, please add. Uh,
Unmute, sir.
No, you have summarized it very well, and I think this is a very challenging problem. Excellent talk. Only I have one small question. You talked about Shannon-Hartley exit. Can you tell a little more about that?
you mean the entropy trap?
I know, I don't know what it is. You mentioned in one of your things. Yeah, here, Shannon-Hartley exit. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
So what I mean by this is that currently we are all racing towards evolution and new development and new frontiers. And all this development, technological or mechanical, are coming at a cost of ecological damage. So we want to go to the Mars, or get electrical vehicle, but to do that we need to mine Himalayas to get titanium. So it's an entropy trap where for growth we have to destroy what we have. But if this whole idea of consciousness and being able to raise your consciousness to connect with the cosmic field, then whatever we want to know for our development and growth can be known from the person who is mature at that level, rather than minds like Mahavir Bhagwan. He got Keval Gyan without going to Mars or without building big tools and technologies. So that is what I'm trying to say, that this entropy trap has a solution. This experiment could probably have a solution to the entropy trap.
Thank you. The only thing I would like to add is that after this RTM, I guess we can have a group which will work on some of these problems, and we can take a project. Now we have some funds to start work on that. All we need is a coherent group with the multidisciplinary expertise, so that some of the issues can be taken up for actual research work, experimentation, and even theoretical foundation. Thank you very much for excellent talk, and also of course Parag sir's talk was very, very good. So I'm really learning lots of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip ji. Excellent deliberations. And no one can say that you are not science graduate. It was a wonderful command on your sciences.
सीख रहा आप लोगों से सीख रहा हूँ.
That is the quality of a person. Seekhna. Just before I open for the discussion, what you have mentioned, para, pashyanti, madhyama, and the vaikari. Currently, with the scientific knowledge or scientific gadgets, we can go up to the madhyama. And pashyanti, we are penetrating it. We are not penetrated yet in the science. My only point which I wanted to correct you is when you said SMA, it lights up 300 microseconds, not the seconds. It's a 300 microseconds.
Yes,
Milliseconds,
yes.
sir.
Yes.
Huh?
They say
Milliseconds.
milliseconds, as far as I know. Milliseconds.
Millisecond or to my mind it is a microsecond, but it could be, I'm not very confirmed. But on this SMA we have already traced, and this finding already has come out that the action which we are planning, it occurs before the really plan comes out in the open. So it is being generated in our own mind before that one. So whether you call it mind or the brain, that is a issue which is debatable. But in the brain, with the fMRI, we have seen that the areas, supplementary motor area, which you are talking about, the SMA, it lights up before the real action or the real action starts.
Right.
So that's the
So
one.
there are also some research which says that it also happens in the gut milliseconds before it, like SMA, there is some connection to the
I was
guts
coming
also.
to that one.
Yeah.
The second you said the gut. Gut is known as the second brain.
Yes.
The number of the neurons in the gut are after the brain at the highest number. And the next is in the heart. So when the people were saying that heart has got मेरे दिल में दर्द है, मेरे दिल में सहानुभूति है, it means perhaps they are meaning that those neurons are getting activated. So gut and the brain, particularly the vagus nerve, is a area for which you must take it in the beginning. Because
yes, इसमें पराग सर ने काफी काम किया है, so we will take his input here.
And the SMA is another with the fMRI one can. So with these few comments, I open the talk for that, because there should be many questions.
Sanchet Sahab, what is the role of heart in this? I think many of the scriptures talk that the seat of all this is in the heart.
It's first, it was there in the philosophical and the poetic literature. All the shires, they will say Dil was the site of the mind. कि जैसे मैं दिल में मेरे को पसंद आया या दिल में मेरे को पसंद नहीं आया, I got aversion. So these are the dil they were saying. But and even some people have talked about the jigar, which really means the liver. But liver has got no such quality. So it's basically the brain only. But the second is right now we have proved that the serotonin and the 90% of the serotonin, not the 10 or 15%, 90% of the body serotonin is being produced in the gut. Yes. So the gut has got a strong role in the awareness and the consciousness. But heart, it is there. As far as the neurons there, it is third in the body to have the number of neurons. But I am not very sure that mind exists there or not. But before that, mind, whether it is there throughout the body or it is there only limited to the brain. What the literature or the philosophy as well as the scientific it says, it is everywhere in the body and outside my body also. The mind is there. And I am just one of the कहते हैं ना कि एक छोटा टुकड़ा हूँ मैं. So that was Parag, Dr. Parag.
I'll share because of lack of time I couldn't cover this. Maybe this we can take this heart transplant patients which are there. They have studied certain. They suddenly exhibit specific memories of the donor who is dead, like food cravings and traits of the donors, dead donors, because of the morphic field of the heart. Heart has a very powerful morphic field, and it is like broadcast which is there. Even if the TB is damaged, the broadcast continues. So this one study we can take in centers who do heart transplant surgeries. So we can go to their donors and we can the recipients, heart recipients, and take the history of their behavior after the heart is transplanted. So that is one way we can explore morphic field. Second one is there is one case of an 8-year-old heart recipient girl who started getting nightmares of the donor, 10-year-old boy who died, was murdered. And that nightmare gave the clue to the police and led to the accused and arrested the murderer. So this happened. This is two instances where I can, these are available on the net. That is a study done by Dr. Paul Persal and Dr. Gary Schwartz in this case. So this maybe we can take up with the Jess and we can go ahead with studies, surveys.
Any other comment or
Very good.
any?
Yeah,
Because there,
just
yes, please.
Arunji wants to tell something. Rather, he has asked some question. Arunji,
And
yes.
yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
no, I'm just saying, what is gut? Gut is a stomach, intestine, or where is the gut?
Gut
When we
is
talk
the
of the
gut.
gut,
Yes.
when we talk of the gut, we mean the intestine, the whole length, starting from the stomach. Stomach is a small organ in the country.
Okay.
And another year, Pallavi ji wants to tell something. If yes, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we will take another speaker.
One thing I want to add here about this Vaikhari and Madhyama and Pashyanti is that before Marconi or our J.C. Bose discovered radio waves and showed that the sound can be communicated across the world, nobody would have believed it.
Yeah, quite.
Now this what Dilip ji is talking is a step further. Nobody believes this, that visual signals are coming from the cosmos and we are receivers. So this is that stage, one step beyond radio communication, which is of course electromagnetic and sound modulation, all that kind of thing, which is very well known. So I think this is a very challenging thing to go one step beyond, and this is very well discussed in Vedantic literature, how it works and all that. There is a book by Arya who describes all these things. So I think at the end of the day, we want to make a group who will study this very challenging problem, and JS will support it, I guess. Thank you.
Sir, I just wanted to add that Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari, they are not limited to the sound only. They are limited to all the sensations and the mind. They all are carrying the same character.
I agree.
Right.
Yes, surely.
Any other comments or questions? We have got some time with us.
I think we will discuss further after the last lecture, if time is
Yeah,
there.
correct, sir. Yeah. Thank you, Sri Dilip ji. Wonderful deliberation and my wonderful addition to the discussion. Now I invite Dr. Sangita Vipin Saha, a Jain scholar from Mumbai, and she will be explaining us to sequential mind and the brain processes in Jain epistemology and cognitive science. So both modern science as well as the conventional philosophical science, she will be merging in the sequential mind and the brain processing. Dr. Sangita Shah, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Can I share my...
Yes.
Yes, you are co-host.
Is it visible to all?
Yeah, yes.
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 Thank you so much, sir. Given the lectures, previous papers by luminaries, I think I might be a small star somewhere in the universe trying to explain what I understand about cognitive science, because my background is not in neuroscience, but I have attempted to work on cognitive science, considering how science has explored all the possibilities. Like when I was trying to look for the possible connections with Jain epistemology, for cognitive science, I found 320, more than 320 explorations of cognitive science. And I was like so confused which one would it for, but then I managed to sort out a couple of them for my paper. So basically what I would like to begin with is a very simple thing, like in our ordinary experience, when we see something at a distance, at first we only register that there is something there. Then we look again. Then we try to figure out, is it a person, an object, is it moving or is static? And when we examine it more closely, one possibility becomes more convincing than the other. So finally we decide, okay, this is what it is. And nothing extraordinary has happened here. This is simply cognition doing its work. But I want to ask a slightly unusual question. Why did cognition need to do all that work? Identifying, is it there? What is it? Why did we have to go through that process? Why did cognition have to do that? That's my question. Why did we need to do that? Why look again? Why inquire? Why consider possibilities? Why move from unclear cognition to clearer determination? Answer is simple. Because we didn't know the object clearly at the beginning. That is why we are exploring those options. But we need a process to do that. Now, we are finite human beings and we come to know through cognitive processes only. Should we therefore assume that all knowing must necessarily require such a process? For beings like us, limitation and process are clearly connected. I mean, when cognition is incomplete, inquiry has to be done. It is necessary. And when error is possible, because we are in the third phase, when we are trying to figure out, there is a possibility that there would be errors in what we determine. So correction also becomes necessary. So the question is, should these processes required by limited cognition be treated as necessary features of knowledge itself? So I explore this question through a dialogue between Jain epistemology and contemporary cognitive science. I'm not suggesting that Jain thinkers anticipated neuroscience. I'm also not claiming that cognitive science proves Jain metaphysics. My method is problem-oriented and not theory mapping. I've chosen predictive processing because it helps us examine cognition when sensory signals do not fully specify their environmental causes. I use global workspace approaches to examine a different problem, how selected cognitive content becomes broadly available across specialized processing. Jain epistemology allows me to place beside these questions the conditioned knowers' movement towards determinate cognition and the continuity of knower through changing cognitive states. All cognitive states are changing. These theories are not equivalent, but I use them to make different problems about, to understand different problems about cognition and visibility of that cognition. Let me begin with Jain epistemology. Jain framework. Jain ontology understands reality through Dravya, Gun and Parag. This is the main crux. Everything we have an explanation for that is Dravya, Gun and Parag. A substance persists. Its essential inseparable from it, yet it continuously manifests through changing modes. The traditional formulation for that is Utpad, Vyay and Dravya, origination, cessation and persistence. A new mode arises while simultaneously the preceding mode ceases and the substance persists through it. So change does not necessarily mean it is fragmented. It's not fragmentation. This becomes important when we turn to the knower. In Jain philosophy, the Jiv is the conscious substance, and Gnan, knowledge, is an intrinsic characteristic of the Jiv. The Jain framework does not begin with non-knowing entity and ask how cognitive processing produces a knower. We are not producing a knower through cognitive processing. The Jiv itself is the knower. Its cognitive modes change, but the knower persists throughout. Now suppose we talk about Sansari Jiv. The conditioned worldly being, Sansari Jiv, does not manifest knowledge without limitation. It has knowledge. It acquires knowledge outside, from outside, but it also has knowledge within itself. And this brings us to Matigyan. Now, Jain epistemology analyzes Matigyan through 4 stages. Everybody knows that: Avagra, Iha, Apaya, Dharana. Initial apprehension. Something is cognitively registered, but the particular object is not yet fully determined. Then comes Iha, the inquiry towards greater specification. Then comes Apai, determination or resolution, where alternatives are distinguished. And Dharana is retention, through which determinate cognition remains cognitively available. Now, what interests me here is not simply that the stages occur in sequence. This sequence is given, but it's a format of sequence. But the important point is why the next stage is needed for this. If we have Agra, we need Iya, we need Apaya, we need, then later comes Dharana. Why do we need these next stages? Iha becomes necessary because Agra has not yielded complete determination. Appai becomes necessary because alternatives remain unresolved. And Dharana becomes relevant because determinate cognition must be retained. I describe this as an incremental cognitive determination. It's a new word, new explanation that I have come to. Cognition becomes more determinate through stages because complete determination was not available at the very beginning. And the process responds to the cognitive condition of the knower. Now, this is where Jain stands. Now let's come to predictive processing. This work has been done by several scientists and scholars, including Carl Friston, Jacob Haughey, and Andy Clark. They are the prominent personalities out there. They differ in their theoretical formulation, but they have contributed to contemporary predictive processing frameworks. I have used their theories to understand this. For them, sensory signals do not by themselves fully specify their environmental causes. In predictive processing frameworks, prior expectations or say generative models, they interact with incoming sensory signals. Discrepancies can generate prediction errors, which may contribute to model revision. The account is, of course, more complex. Processing is hierarchical, and the influence of prediction error depends, among other things, on estimated precision. So my comparative point is limited. The causes of sensory signals are not fully given in the signals themselves. A finite biological system, human or any other finite because all biological systems have a finite capacity. They must operate under this determination. Now, predictive processing describes a sophisticated way in which such a system negotiates that condition. At first sight, maybe we are tempted to map Jain stages directly onto predictive processing. Avgra is prediction. EI is model formation. Appai is prediction error minimization. And Dharana is memory consolidation. But I don't think this mapping works. At first, it seems, they have this compatibility. But I don't think that works. Why? Because Agra as such is not prediction. EI is not generative model. Appai is non-prediction error minimization. And Dharana, of course, is not simply memory consolidation, according to James. So these concepts arise in very different theoretical systems. So I am not comparing the stages one by one, but the point of contact is somewhere else. The question is simple. What makes cognitive process necessary? Why is it necessary? In Mati Gnan, cognition of the particular object is not completely determined at the outset. That is why we go through this entire process. So inquiry and determination becomes epistemically significant. In predictive processing, sensory evidence undermines its environmental causes. So iterative predictive processes become functionally significant. The mechanisms differ, the ontologies differ, but in both cases, processes become intelligible in relation to the conditions under which cognition operates. This is what I call the intelligence of limitations. I'm not taking it negatively. In fact, I feel that it's the intelligence of that limitation. A finite organism does not simply fail because its access is incomplete. It predicts, it compares, it responds to error, it revises. The process is not a cognitive defect. It is an intelligent response to the conditions of finite cognition. So after accepting this part, I would state because limited cognition requires such processes, must knowledge itself always require them? Now I'm comparing process of knowledge and the knowledge itself. So let me introduce a second contemporary framework which science is exploring in cognitive sciences. Bernard Barr's global workspace theory. It basically talks about the brain-wide broadcast of information or unity of information. That's because how do we unite all the different stages of knowledge that we are receiving from outside? How do we decide that? So this brain-wide broadcast of information asks us how selected cognitive content becomes broadly available to otherwise specialized processes, because predictive processing said it's a specialized process. Later, a global neuron workspace model associated particularly with Stanislas Dehaene. It's a French name, which I'm not so sure about its pronunciation. And his colleagues developed this question at a neuronal level. Now, this I'm not so expert over there, but I found some similarities in its architecture. In the GNW model, recurrent processing and large-scale network ignition amplifies and sustains selected representations, making information globally accessible to multiple cognitive systems. Globally meaning brain-wide. So these theories are not identical. I therefore use the broader phrase global workspace approaches because I can't compare this to different manners. So I'm taking that basic model of which I can compare. So I isolate only one problem from that. How does selected cognitive content become broadly available across specialized processes? The sequential knowledge and the unity of that knowledge. Jain philosophy approaches this question from a very different level. The jiva persists through changing cognitive modes. First, I apprehend something, then I inquire, then I determine. The cognitive state changes because I've determined my cognition has changed. And yet, when I say I apprehended, I inquired, I determined. So the jiva continues throughout as the knower. So again, now this can be changed into two questions. How does cognitive content become broadly available? And what accounts for the continuity of the knower through changing cognitions? These don't have same explanatory answers. I'm not saying that Jiva explains neural processing or that global workspace approaches answer the Jain metaphysical question. I'm keeping these distinct, separate. But even in even a continuing knower may know under limitation. And this brings to me to Keval Gyan. Now, everything was sequential, and Keval Gyan is simultaneous. Global workspace theory approaches say that there is unity in what we are understanding, how our cognition works, and then it unites the knowledge. Within Jain epistemology, Keval Gyan is unobstructed knowledge. With the destruction of four ghati karmas, and specifically the complete destruction of Jnanavarni karma, the knowledge obscuring karma, the Kevali manifests Keval Gyan. Jnanavarn karma is knowledge obscuring. It is not knowledge producing. So its destruction does not manufacture knowledge as a new property of the Jeev. Knowledge is intrinsic to the conscious substance. The obstruction to its unobstructed manifestation is removed. I am not presenting Keval Gyan as empirically demonstrated cognitive phenomenon. I am not proposing a neural mechanism for omniscience or a scientific competitor to predictive processing. I use Keval Gyan as epistemic limit case. It allows me to ask what knowing means within a field where the epistemic obstruction characteristics of conditioned cognition is absent. I may take 5 more minutes. Is that okay? 1/3 of this thing is left. So I describe this Keval Gyan as immediate, unobstructed knowing. Immediate, what I mean by immediate is, suppose cognition moved from incomplete apprehension to inquiry to resolution to determinate cognition, but completed the entire sequence in 1/1,000,000th of a second. Does that happen in Keval Gyan? No. The process changed over there? The process which we were following when we are as a Sansari Jeev. What I mean to say is, even if that happens, that process, then it would be a faster sequence, but it remains as a sequence. It cannot be simultaneous. And a faster increment remains incremental. So by immediate, I mean determinate knowing does not have to be constructed through epistemically intermediate stages from an initially insufficient cognitive condition. In Mati Gyan, inquiry is needed because determination is incomplete. Resolution is needed because alternatives remain. Keval Gyan is not obstructed or structured by the initial condition of epistemic incompleteness. And that raises a question. Because finite knowers require a process to arrive at a determinate cognition, should we assume that all knowing must necessarily require such a process? For us, limitation and process are clearly connected. I'm not questioning that connection. Inquiry becomes necessary where determination is incomplete. Predictive modeling becomes significant where sensory signals do not fully specify what caused them. You make it out, whatever you want. Selective attention becomes necessary where cognitive availability is limited. These are sophisticated features of finite cognition. Now, whether the process is required under these conditions should be treated as necessary features of knowledge itself. That's my question. Would the same processes remain necessary if the cognitive conditions to which they respond were absent? I fully accept that all empirically investigated human cognition may depend upon temporally unfolding biological processes. Perceptual description requires processing. Prediction, attention, and memory involve biological activity. I don't question that. But there is a further philosophical step that we need to think about. There are two propositions in this. All empirically investigated human cognition depends upon temporally unfolding biological process. Everything is sequential. And the second is, all possible knowing must necessarily depend upon incremental cognitive construction. So the first tells us how finite biological knowers actually know. The second tells us what knowing must necessarily require. These are not the same claim, but the first is empirical, the second is conceptual. And I'm not claiming that I have proved knowing without process. There is no way we can prove that. But my argument is limited. We cannot move from the first claim to the second without further philosophical argument. Like the fact that human knowledge studied by science require cognitive processes tells us something extremely important about human cognition. But does it by itself tell us what all knowing must necessarily require? Jain epistemology gives us a reason to keep that question open, not by supplying an ancient neuroscience, not by proving a scientific theory, and not by asking science to accept Keval Gyan as empirical evidence. It makes visible distinction between knowledge itself and the process required by the conditioned cognition. I'm nearly at the end of my. I proposed 3 levels to understand this whole process. Like the first is ontological succession. In Jain ontology, paryas arise and cease without while substance persists. There is a change and succession, but succession does not imply fragmentation. The second is incremental cognition under limitation. Here, a determinate cognition develops through epistemically related stages because complete determination is not available at the outset. Matignan exemplifies this through Augra, Iya, Apaydhana. Predictive processing within a different scientific framework describes iterative cognition under sensory underdetermination. The third is immediate and unobstructed knowing, while Jain epistemology, within Jain epistemology, Keval Gyan represents knowing that does not depend upon constructing determinate cognition from an initially insufficient cognitive conditions. These levels cannot be collapsed. The fact that modes occur successively does not prove that determinate knowledge must always be incrementally constructed. Temporally distributed neural processing does not by itself prove that all possible knowing must necessarily be constructed through cognitive stages. And Keval Gnan does not constitute empirical evidence against cognitive science. These are different claims altogether. So my purpose is also to keep them different. And so let me end with the question that I began. We know that infinite human beings come to know through sophisticated cognitive processes. We inquire, we discriminate, we predict, we correct, we select, we integrate, we retain, etc., etc., etc. Cognitive science is giving us increasingly precise accounts of these processes. And these accounts reveal the extraordinary intelligence of finite cognition. My argument does not challenge that achievement. My question begins at the next step. Because limited knowers like us require these processes, should we assume that they are necessary to know or knowledge itself? So I think thank you so much for listening to me. And yeah, I'm open to some questions you might have. I'll try to answer them as I can.
Excellent, again, excellent talk today by Sangita ji. You are given very correlating with the modern neuroscience or the psychological science and the Jain epistemology. There are many questions also, and we will take one by one to them. First, my question is, you have talked about the knowledge, Gyan. What is the role of wisdom in cognition?
What is the role of?
Wisdom.
Wisdom in knowledge. Wisdom arises from knowledge, I guess.
No, but it is not exactly with the knowledge. The knowledge and the wisdom, they are separate ones. But they are interrelated. But they are.
Yes, I agree. They are interrelated. Because wisdom we require. Now the next question would be: would Kevli require wisdom? If we are talking about wisdom, would Kevli require wisdom?
But I think wisdom is an inherent quality which will be there.
Wisdom, it could be. Yes, then we have to reorient my whole paper.
Yeah,
how do we classify wisdom under these processes? So that could be a topic for another paper, I'm sure. We could go and explore that.
Okay, thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir.
And now that all the 3 talks are open for the discussion, please raise your hand and we will accommodate your comments. Any particular? I'm not able to see the hands. Anilji, if you can just make out anyone.
No, I don't see,
Okay.
even I don't see any hands.
Yes. Anybody? Okay. Mm. Suvasji, you want to tell something? I think you will be happy to tell something on Sangitaji's lecture. Suvasji? Dr. Suvasjan. Okay. Probably he is not.
He's mute.
Okay, so let us come to the conclusion now.
Can I
We
just
heard
make a
three.
comment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's a very good model that karmas are filtering information as you presented, and it was a very good talk. And I think this infinite processing in Kevalgyan is not required. There is no processing required as far as I can see. It is through
Yes.
the Chidakash, this field of Chetana, that everything is instantly connected. It
Right.
remains connected. You don't have to have information and process it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that is a point I think in the model
Yes.
what Dilip ji showed Manokash.
Yes.
In Manokash you need speed and processing and receiving and tuning and all that. But in case of a Chetana field, everything remains connected all the time instantly. So there is no information required, there is no
Right.
processing required. So that's a very good point you have made. So thank you very much. We learned lots of things from you.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent talk. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So
Anil
anybody
ji, sir.
wants to comment or add? Yes. Mm. Okay. Yes, Sanjati Saab. Yes, you want to tell something?
No, it's perfectly fine. Only thing is
Mm.
that Arunji's point. Am I audible? Yes. Arunji's
Yes,
point.
yes.
Where is the gut? Or one another question also came in between. The gut is what we mean the gut is which is supplied by the vagus nerve. In fact, the vagus nerve, if you put it to the vagus is the one name came from the vagabond because it goes to many places in the body, including the GIT, lungs, to the heart. It goes to many places, liver. So it goes to the many. But as far as the gut is concerned, we limit from the esophagus to the rectum. That is where the limit of and where the current research is going on the biomes, the trillions of the organisms which are living in us, majority of them is in the gut. So whether gut is responsible for the mental actions or it is the neurons which are responsible for the mental actions, these are now is a point of research which even we can also take, and this can be a breakthrough research which can be available. That's my comment. And I think I hand over to you, Dr. Anil.
Sancheti Saab, can you tell more about this vagus nerve? You said it goes everywhere. So can you just, explain? I don't know much about this.
This nerve, originally, vagus name came from the vagabond, which keeps on moving from one place to another, and no one knows where. But now we have dissected it completely, and now it is there, as I told you, so many organs are there which are being innervated by this one. And this is perhaps the nerve which connects the body to the inner brain, which we are talking, see whether hypothalamus or the thalamus or the pituitary or the pineal. So perhaps I'm not, because it goes up to the hypothalamus because it's a part of the parasympathetic nerve. Vagus nerve is a part of the vagus. So even in the dhyana also, meditation, the vagus nerve role comes into the play. hormones which are coming out, whether catecholamines or the serotonin, its role comes into. So it's a very, very important one. And even I will not be surprised in the cosmolingo also, cosmic language also, the role of vagus will be coming in.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question or comment?
And also, Theosophy says that sixth sense is gut, intuition. So that may be more philosophical, but it has some correlation, I guess.
The sixth sense is perhaps the most abused. They put it in the pineal gland. Somebody put it in the chakra, Ajna chakra. So there are so many things. No one knows the sixth sense. And because they don't know, they have named it at many places. So that's why I say it is the most abused sense. Not that it is a sense which is to be abused. It is a sense which has been used wherever you can't fit anything. Earlier, we were putting virus as a cause of the many diseases because we were not knowing. Then came the demyelination. So when we do not know, we keep on saying, so what is the common way? We do not know. So the sixth sense, right now, we have not been able to correlate, but it is one of the postulations. You are correct.
रमेश जी, रमेश भाई सर, यस, माइक ऑन करें।
जी सर, तो वो सिक्स सेंस की जो बात चल रही है, पांच इंद्रिय और छठा मन, वो बात तो मन के ऊपर आके टिकती है। अब ये मन की सीट कहाँ पर है, वो ऐसे जैन धर्म में कहीं उसको हृदय में बताया जरूर गया है, लेकिन हृदय और हार्ट एज सच इज ए फिजिकल बॉडी, while the मन इज नॉट ए फिजिकल एज आई अंडरस्टैंड। मेरा कमेंट्स भी यही है और उस पर थोड़ा विवेचना हो सकती है। धन्यवाद।
Okay. Any other question? Please raise your hand. Yes. Okay. So let me conclude here that we have 3 lectures today and all are excellent. I will say like this. The first lecture by
Parag
ji, and he talked about comparative study of theosophy and modern neuroscience. And second lecture was by Dr. Sri Dilip ji. He talked about lingua cosmica from brain to cosmos. And third lecture was Dr. Sangita ji. All lectures are very excellent, and I can conclude only this, that now we have a complete ground to take up projects in this line and come to the next step of consciousness. As Dr. Narendra Bhandari ji also told, that in the world over, people are working on consciousness, and we started this from brain and mind. It is really an excellent thing. So I am very happy that it is going very well, our lecture series and RTM. So I am sure 4-5 people group, including Sancheti Saab, Parag ji, Dilip ji, Bhandari Saab, definitely we can take some good project that will be focused on this brain and mind and later on consciousness. And definitely JS will fulfill all these aspirations of the pupil. Thank you all. And Dr. Sangita ji was the first one who showed his interest in giving some talk. I am very happy today. I have seen him, his picture. So good. Congratulations to all the 3. Thank you very much. And we look forward other lectures also. The same, quite interesting. One will be from Arunji. It will be on the last day, of course, our RTM. But before that, we will have Dr. Sudhir Shah lecture also in the next RTM. That will also be interesting. And along with them, there will be other speakers as well. So we hope that you will join uh, all the RTMs and enjoy the lectures. Thank you very much from my side. Now it is over to Dr. Narendra Bhattacharya ji. Uh, you want to sum up, say something?
Yeah, it has been a great learning session. I think I learned so many things. I want to thank all the speakers, excellent talks, and I think we ought to take a few small projects which are doable, one or two medium projects and one big project. So any volunteers, please write to me, and I think we should take it forward. This RTM should not be the end of our discussion. It should be the beginning of something. And I think with such a great group of scholars here, I think the Jain Academy and we can do something significant. So thanks everybody, all the participants, and especially all the speakers. And I think if somebody can take notes. Somebody asked whether this is available, these lectures in the chat box. Yes, they will be available on YouTube. Jain Scholars YouTube is there. So let us take out some small points and make some projects experimental or theoretical or modeling, either way. So I just want to express my gratitude to Dr. Anil Kumar ji, Dr. Sancheti Saab for organizing this. This has been a wonderful experience, and I think this is the strong point. You have organized this very informative session. I think everybody must have enjoyed it just as I have done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Purvi ji, you want to
Yes, sir.
tell some?
Uh, yeah, once again, thanks
Some
to all for participating in this RTM, and excellent talk given by all the speakers. Thank you. And tomorrow we are having Samesha class from 8:30 to 9:30, and this RTM will be continued on next Tuesday, that is 21st of July. So all are welcome to join. Once again, thank you everybody.
thank
And
you.
सर वो
जय
जो चैट
हिंद,
बॉक्स में बोला है ना,
नमस्कार.
वो दैट इज डॉक्टर राम गड़ा जी, ही इज फ्रॉम यूएस, our guardian member.
Yes, yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
जय जिनेंद्र.
Jai Jinendra. Thank you, everybody.
Jai.
Thank